my name's Rachel and today I am making a video about the Poet X, but I'm making this I'm making this for a different audience than I normally do. On this channel I make a lot of content and I would say that all of it is for adults. I can't stop watching from what? Oh my god, what's up with my mouth today? I can't stop minors from watching me. Apparently some do, according to my analytics, and I've also had to tell my own kids not to watch my videos, but congrats to my son. You can watch this one. I don't really center kids in my videos, even though I make a lot of videos about book banning. I'm mostly talking to other adults. I try to encourage adults to join the fight against book banning, but today this video is for everyone, including the kiddos. I try to boost the voices of kids who are being affected by book banning and who are talking about book banning, but I don't really talk to them. Today's video is for y'all and was inspired by y'all. One of my mutuals, Satoria, mentioned to me that the students that she works with were told some incorrect information about the banning of The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. So I thought I'd make a video discussing book banning again, particularly when it comes to The Poet X, but then also a little bit about other books as well. I will center kids in this video. I will amend my language so that I don't get y'all in trouble with any of your parents. So let's discuss book banning, The Poet X, and how book banning can affect you and your peers and what you can do about it. So The Poet X is a 2018 young adult novel written by a Dominican American author named Elizabeth Acevedo. She's also a poet. She's from Harlem, New York, and she's the author of multiple award-winning books. As you can see, this has won National Book Award and a couple of others, and her other books have won some awards as well. She's also the author of With the Fire on High, Clap When You Land, which is this one, which is also great. Both of these are told in verse, so if you are a poetry nerd or you like books in verse, these are ones that you will love. With the Fire on High is not in verse. It's a great book though, and if you are into cooking or if you are a teen parent, you will feel very seen in that book, I believe. And yes, even if you are a teen parent, you deserve to be seen in the books that you read. This one is about our main character, Ziamata. She feels unheard. There's dust everywhere. She feels like trapped in where she's at. She doesn't jive with the Catholicism of her family. She feels like her brother is treated better than her because she's a girl and he is a boy. She doesn't like the way that men and boys talk to her and sexualize her. She's invited to join her school's slam poetry club, but her mother is a staunch Catholic and does not want her to be doing much other than Catholicism in school and doesn't really support Ziamata finding her own voice. So Ziamata is doing her slam poetry in secret. She also starts to have feelings for her lab partner. So it's a coming of age story. It's about finding your voice. It's about you know, young love. It's about art by way of poetry. It's a very important book and there's a reason why this has won awards, I believe. Obviously it's got a lot of important things to say and has resonated with a ton of people. Let's do some quick vocab before we get into what happened with The Poet X and book banning. Book banning is the practice of prohibiting or restricting the reading of certain books by the general public or by members of a local community or religious group. Books can be banned by multiple ways. Book banning is not just one thing. Book banning comes in a variety of ways. So book banning means removing accessibility from public libraries or school libraries, or limiting where and when they can be printed by private institutions, or creating them a punishable act. There's multiple ways that book banning comes about. Now, people who are fans of book banning have tried to change that definition to it's only book banning if we make it impossible to read the books altogether. That is categorically not what book banning is or has ever been defined as. Typically when people start banning books, they do it in incremental steps. They're not going to take away your right to read altogether immediately. They're going to slowly make it impossible for you to access things. But book banning is a process, and that process starts with a challenge when it comes to school libraries. A book being challenged means that one or more person has made a formal request to an institution, a public institution such as a school library or a classroom library at a public school. And I think public libraries are similar, but I'm not sure. I mostly know about school libraries. libraries. So they make a formal request called a challenge to that institution to remove that book. There's typically paperwork that is filed, and it looks like this. This is a challenge at a high school near me for a graphic novel called Blankets. So they normally ask things like, what book do you want removed? Why? Which pages concern you? What themes concern you? Etc. A challenge is not a ban. A challenge is the first step on the way to possible bans. There's still a chance that the book could stay. A book ban occurs when an objection to the content of a specific book leads to that book being withdrawn, either fully or partially from availability, or when a blanket prohibition or an absolute restriction is placed on a particular title within a school or an entire school district. So a school district is normally set by your county, and your county school district includes a ton of schools, elementary, middle, and high school, or K through 8 and middle through high. It's also important to keep in mind that this does not happen at the state or federal level, it happens at the district level. Each challenge is normally at a particular school. Then that challenge can be brought all the way up to the school board to make a decision on whether or not all the schools in the county, or just the elementary, or just the middle, or all the schools in the county get to have or keep the book. If they already have it, then it has to be removed if the district says so, or they are prohibited from buying it and adding it to the school's collection. Your district is typically named after the county that you reside in, but if you don't know which school district that you're a part of, now's a good time to look up your school. You can search school name, district, and find out what district you are a part of. I want you to keep in mind that there is also no federal or state organization created by the government to track this. There is no state organization or federal organization, like national organization, that is keeping track of book challenges and book bans. We, the people who are trying to fight this, are the ones documenting the challenges. Typically they are reported on by librarians to organizations, either small local or state organizations, or larger organizations like PEN America. And also journalists do great work of tracking these things down. But because there is no state or federal organization by the government to keep tracking these, the issue is underreported, meaning that we don't know actually how much of this is happening. So the number is probably much larger than what we know of. Now, I also want to say that a book challenge is not the only way to get a book removed from a school or an entire school district. You can also have an administrator themselves, like school board member, school board president, put forward a book or many books that they want removed, and then have the school board for that district vote on that. Your school district board is typically made up of several members from different parts of the county. So your school district is made up of your county, and your county is made up of several districts. I know that's a little confusing. When we talk about schools, we call it a school district, and that is typically the same as your county. So when we talk about the county is broken up into several districts, and typically your county board of commissioners is the same idea. So there's different districts within your county, but your school district is gone by county, and that's because then your entire state is made up of several different school districts. So it's basically a way to break it down who lives where and who gets represented by whom. And your school board members are typically voted in by the people who live in that district. Shout out to Stacy Hahn, my district member, but in the most sarcastic way possible, because I don't like my school board district member. They might also have a lawyer that sits on the board. You can also typically find like a chairperson on the board, and shout out to, in the most positive way, my school district's chairperson. I love you, Nadia Combs. You are my hero. Typically they lead the meetings by saying like this recited list of things, and they like call up speakers and say the agenda for the meeting and that kind of thing. You can find out who presides on your school board by looking it up online. You'll have to learn which district within your county that you live in. To learn your particular board member, you're gonna have to look it up. With that understanding, was this book, The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, was this challenged? Yes. Let's discuss why, the absolutely ridiculous reasons why. Let's discuss this one challenge in particular first. Okay, so the Lake Norman Charter School District in North Carolina had parents of a ninth grader who their names were Robin and John Coble, and they asked federal courts to remove this book from their child's classroom, saying that the book was overtly anti-Christian and that the public school's endorsement and use of the novel violates constitutional rights that they have regarding freedom of religion. The school said, well, we're not going to censor the book. They told the Cobles, your kid can read a different book. But that wasn't good enough for John and Robin Coble, because they didn't just want their kid to not read the book, they wanted to make it inaccessible. That is book banning. So they file a lawsuit, and one of the parts of this book cited in the complaint says about Jesus, he feels like a friend who invites himself over too often, who texts me too much, a friend I just don't think I need anymore. And the Cobles were not happy about this because they are Christians. I think they're Baptists though, which is really interesting because normally Baptists don't think of Catholics as true Christians. At least where I grew up in fundamentalist evangelical churches, we were taught explicitly that Catholics are not true Christians. So I find it really interesting, and I wonder if they really wanted to say like, well, this isn't real Christianity, get it off the shelves, and then they felt like that was too far. I'm not sure. It also says a few swear words. Ziomata describes Mary, mother of Jesus, as an impregnated virgin who is probably scared-less. So I'm not going to say bad words, but a lot of teens are swearing anyway. I was definitely swearing at that age. I swear here and now. So it's just really silly that they think that that's not appropriate for teens when teens talk like that all the time. And if they don't want their teen to talk like that, then don't read the book, read the other option. But that wasn't good enough for them. They said that the book was a frontal assault on Christian beliefs and values and thus violates the First Amendment. This book existing, they said, violates their First Amendment right to their religion. And the lawsuit itself said, if Christians were gearing up war, no reasonably objective observer could blame them. Yes, it is normal for you to be concerned at that sentence. The schools plan to teach the book to young impressionable minds in their public secondary school, runs afoul of the basic precept underpinning the religion clauses. The government must remain neutral in the matters of religion and is certainly forbidden from promoting or endorsing materials that exhibit hostility toward any particular religion. The board chairman for the Lake Norman Charter School didn't want to comment, but they did say in a statement that the school will not fall pressure to censor the Poet-X or any other literary selections, which was the right thing to do because, again, the parents were given the option to opt out and opt in for a different book. Instead, we choose to view this as an opportunity to share our school's core values and to model navigating differences of opinions and perspectives respectfully and civilly. The book had been taught at the school for 2 years. Again, kids can opt out, but the book had been taught. And the thing about this is that when we are looking at book banning, a great thing to ask is the thing that you are saying is a harm actually linked to any, in a causal way, as in this caused this kind of harm? Is there any proof that that is true? That this particular book, over the course of the 2 years that it's been taught, linked to actual observable consequences and negatively impacting the young adults who read it? The school further said, at LNC, the school, no literary selection is mandatory. If a constituent is not comfortable with the subject matter of a material, their perspective is honored and an alternative selection is offered. The Coble family rejected this option. Books like The Poet-X, the school said, are consistent with its commitment to seek diverse thought and a range of opinions and perspectives to increase students' awareness, expand their thinking, and ultimately help them grow and achieve their full potential. The thing I want to uplift about this is that the students at the school, other students, not the kid whose parents are being a little bit wacky about what he chooses to read, the students at the school spoke up about this, and I'll show you what they said.
The students speaking out, so I listened.
As a student body, want to make our own statement that this is our decision to read the book. We don't see anything wrong with it. And we support the school's decision in teaching it because we think it's important.
All eyes on The Poet-X. It's a part of the freshman reading list at Lake Norman Charter School, and the novel these seniors say they all had the pleasure of reading.
It's just a coming of age book. Like, it's not anything crazy. It's what teenage girls go through. Like, it's a girl trying to find her voice.
But some parents argue the profanity, sexual references, and anti-Christian verses found throughout the book are not appropriate for a school setting. But these students disagree.
And they always reiterate the fact that it's from a different point of view, that whatever happens in the book might oppose our own views and beliefs, but that's the whole point of reading the book, so that we get a wider view of what's going on in the world.
They also add readings like The Poet-X encourage productive classroom engagement.
A lot of books that we read that might have heavier topics, teachers are always open discussion. They always make us feel comfortable asking any question that we might have.
Lake Norman Charter also offers an alternative reading option for students who don't feel comfortable with the book choice, and parents are given the option to review the reading list beforehand. Some students say The Poet-X is much like many of the other readings, and they feel this book is being unfairly targeted.
If we're going to ban one, go ahead and ban all the others, because then someone's going to say, well, this book has this and this book has this.
Lake Norman Charter School has been served a legal letter with a potential lawsuit looming if the school chooses not to reconsider reading The Poet X.
There's a lot of things we need in the school as it is, and I feel like a lawsuit is just another stressor that we just do not need.
Instead, students are organizing in other ways and creating this Google Doc for any and everyone to add their thoughts about The Poet X.
Just collect our entire thoughts as a body. So we're very unified and dignified in how we respond, and I'm very proud of our school.
Brianna Harper reporting, WCNC, Charlotte.
John Coble, one of the parents who is against the book, started a GoFundMe page to raise money for the upcoming court fight. He called it First Amendment Defense for Christians at LNC. It's interesting that another opinion just existing, he felt was infringing on his rights. That's pretty backwards. They were trying to raise $15,000. He said, "We are in a fight to protect our children's First Amendment rights to learn in an environment that is free from religious discrimination and hostility towards our belief as Christians. We feel that reading this book in the classroom constitutes a hostile work environment for Christians, and we believe that there is no place for softcore pornography in schools." No, this book does not constitute softcore pornography. Those things have definitions, just like book banning, and the thing about book banners is that they often try to muddy the waters on what terms actually mean so that they can make a bad faith argument. But pornography has a definition, book banning has a definition, and they cannot just change them in order to make the situation something that it is not. The lawsuit was dismissed, and the Cobles are appealing. Last I heard in 2022. I'm not sure what the update is on that, but I will read you the court opinion. In the present case, the Cobles claim that the potential exposure of their son to the Poet X violates the free exercise clause because it violates their son's religious beliefs, but this claim ignores the fact that he was not required to read the Poet X. Rather, the school offered an alternative to the book. The offer of an alternative text tends to establish that the school has done nothing to burden the child's religious practices. In Grove, a different court case, the court noted that the student was provided an alternate book and excused from classroom discussion once she objected to The Learning Tree, which was another book that had a case surrounding it. The court held that there was no coercion, especially when balanced against the critical threat to the importance of providing well-rounded public education to students. Courts have also noted that while parents may fear indoctrination, quote, "the mere fact that a child is exposed on occasion in public school to a concept offensive to a parent's religious belief does not inhibit the parent from instructing the child differently." And if they really feel that the child must be in that environment, they can do what my parents did and send them to extremely rigid private schools. Here, the Cobles fail to allege any facts to support the idea that the child experienced any coercion regarding his religious beliefs. Instead, the Cobles in their own complaint have presented facts that tend to show the school worked to ensure that students would not be forced to read a book that violated their religious beliefs. In short, the Cobles have not raised factual allegations sufficient to maintain a free exercise claim in this case. So in this case, the book was challenged. The school said no. The local court said no. So there was no ban. There was no further step taken from that challenge to ban. So despite being upsetty spaghetti about the sexual and vulgar, as they put it, references and the intimidating, hostile, and offensive, quote, content, they could have chosen a different book for their kid to read. They decided not to and decided to make it everybody's problem. But unfortunately, the court did not agree with them. John Coble said, "I can't even tell you everything that's in the book because you wouldn't put it on air." I mean, the same can be said for the Bible. I can't just go to John Coble's church and start reading the rather steamy scenes from Song of Solomon, but anybody on their own can go and read those on their own. Of course, you can't just stand up and start saying inappropriate things. The context matters. Like, I can't just say them out loud in front of an entire group of people because they did not agree to hear that part of the Bible. Maybe they stay away from it entirely. But on their own, maybe they do choose to read that. The context changes. Yes, it's okay to have different context depending on who's listening. I couldn't read on air the Song of Solomon verses about certain sexual acts either. This was not a First Amendment violation, the courts said. So was the Poet X banned there? Not as of yet. I believe the Cobles are still fighting this. Is the Poet X banned elsewhere? Yes. In 5 districts, at least that we know of. It's banned in the Indian River County School District. In Florida, it's banned from the libraries in that school district as of November 2021. In the New York District, Marlborough School District, Central School District, it is banned in libraries and classrooms as of February 2022. In Texas, in the Fredericksburg ISD, it is banned pending pending an investigation as of March 2022. And in Virginia, in the New Kent Public School District, it is banned in libraries as of October 2021. In the case of the New York Marlborough School District, they just banned it without explanation. That the Poet-X, along with Nick Stone's book Dear Martin, both of which I have read and I would say are definitely appropriate for middle school and high school students. The superintendent recommended 4 books to be pulled. These 2 were singled out by board members, Patricia Benninger and Mike Connors, and the board members were in agreement, but then later one board member made a motion to discuss the matter further, but nobody backed her up and it died, so they did not have any further discussion. And then during public input, the former school board president questioned them banning without even having a discussion. Like, it just was outright banned. The board didn't even pause enough to have a conversation, which means there must be enough conversations going on behind the scene and not in public, which is supposed to happen in a public meeting, to discuss why 2 books the superintendent and staff recommended to approve were removed. He said, "It's just a very bad look for the board." And I agree. There was no reason for these books to be pulled. They are award-winning books for young adults that have never been shown to have a causal relationship with any sort of harm or health and safety issue for their intended audience. It's also very interesting because it's set in New York. Doesn't New York care about their own? What's funny is one of the members of the board said that she wanted to revisit the issue later, admitting that she only skimmed the books in question. Why did you ban children from accessing books that you yourself have only skimmed? What is going on? In the New Kent School District, New Kent Middle School pulled the book. This decision came after a parent named Emily White complained about the book on Facebook, which you can always count on these people to be found on Facebook. She got a bunch of attention for it, and then she brought a collection of supporters to the school board meeting and made pulling the book happen. She said that her kid came home with the book. Now, whether that means the kid picked it out at the library or brought it home for an assignment is unclear. I assume it's the former, but even if it's the latter, she could have simply said, "I want my kid to have a different book for the assignment." The thing that's funny about this is that in the same meeting, the school board applauded themselves for having Hispanic Latina Heritage Month, and then they were banning a very important book for Latina representation, an award-winning book for Latina representation. And then the local newspaper just declined to name which book had been banned. In Hanover, just this November 2023, school principals were given this list of titles by the school board to be pulled from schools. Yes, the Poet-X was on there. It's so fascinating that a lot of this is going on, the discussion about it is going on behind closed doors, and we're not voting on it, parents aren't getting a say, and neither are the students. Why was it challenged and banned? Why was this book so upsetting that it was challenged and banned? Because some people feel that the content is inappropriate for minors regarding bits that discuss things like sexuality, and then some people are upset at the idea of a kid not falling in line with their parents' religious beliefs. They simply do not want books to exist that make them uncomfortable, trying to make it so that everyone cannot have access to a book because the main character is questioning the Catholicism that she's been brought up with is completely ridiculous when they could just have your kid read a different book. All of these cases where parents are involved, the parents can just opt the kid out. That way other kids can opt in if their parents are cool with it. And that's only if it's a classroom assignment. If it's just at the library not doing anything, then tell your kid to pick out books that you're cool with next time. But it's not about controlling their own kids. It's about controlling you and everybody else's kids, including mine, which is why this is so upsetting, because I am a parent and I did not agree to co-parent with other parents other than my own husband. Is the Poet-X a book that mentions sex and sexuality? Sure. Yes, it is. I believe it's in an age-appropriate way, and I'd say that this book's Song of Solomon in the Bible is way more sexually explicit than this book. So I don't really understand the double standard there. And here's the thing, you should always point out double standards when it comes to book banning, because double standards should not be the metric by which your education is decided upon. Is the Poet-X sexual content inappropriate for 12-year-olds? I'm not the parent of a 12-year-old, so I don't know. I don't get to decide that for everybody else's 12-year-olds. I don't get to make that call for other parents. The ones affected by it should be the ones who are discussing it. That would be the kids involved and the parents. It's a case-by-case basis. I don't know if it's appropriate for you. I don't think it's appropriate for my 7-year-old, but mostly because he would understand basically none of this. He doesn't even understand things like what poetry is. Why would I would I have him read this? He doesn't understand what Catholicism is, or where the Dominican Republic is, or that's even a country. He doesn't have the context, and context is important in understanding books. Would I let him read it when he's 12? Yeah, probably. My kid's Puerto Rican, and I think that he might see himself a little bit in a little bit of the Latina culture going on here. Unless something comes up personally that, I don't know, this might remind him of a trauma that he eventually has. Again, it's a case-by-case basis that each parent and their kid has to decide upon. Some random lady who lives 45 minutes from me shouldn't be making that choice. Me and my kid's school librarian should. Some random person in your county who isn't your parent shouldn't be in charge of parenting you. You and your parents or your guardian did not consent to that. You should have the right to opt in and opt out of things, not be forced to opt out by default because of some random person's personal feelings. So how does book banning affect you? Book banning does not make you safer. There is no evidence to support that idea. There is no mass book banning in other countries that has been proven to be the cause for better health and safety outcomes for kids. There's no evidence that this is a good idea, and the US looks like a bunch of foolish idiots engaging in it because of that. Where is the proof that there is a problem in the first place, and where is the proof that this book banning is the solution? The answer is there is none. No other country is doing this and having better health and safety outcomes as a result of it. Another thing is book banning is certainly not helping to improve the abysmal literacy rates in this country. Our literacy rate is very low. Other countries who have higher literacy rates, higher rates of people who can read and read well, they're not doing book banning. And another reason is that representation matters. Representation like this definitely matters. A fundamental reason why representation matters is because it's crucial for young readers in particular to have literature as a way to have a mirror reflecting the diversity of the world. A scholar, Dr. Rudine Sims Bishop, who came up with this idea that books are windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors. She said that books can act as mirrors to help kids see reflections of their own lives and experiences. Windows that kids can view other lives, like see into another's life and gain insight into the lives of others. And exposure to these diverse characters fosters empathy and a broader understanding of the world. And studies have shown that exposure to diverse literature positively correlates with increased empathy among children in particular. By immersing themselves in the experiences of characters with different backgrounds, children and teens develop a more compassionate and inclusive worldview. Representation in literature can be a powerful tool for empowering marginalized groups, and when children and teens see somebody in a book who shares something about them and overcoming challenges and succeeding, it instills a sense of pride and possibility and hope. A lack of this representation can make people feel invisible and inadequate. Okay, I am quite literally a mom, so I do in fact have to finish this here because I had to go to school pickup, and that took longer than I anticipated. So I am back to do this, but I am having to do this on my computer setup instead of at my filming setup, so I'm sorry about that. What I was saying is that books featuring characters from various backgrounds expose children and teens to different ways of life, providing a more inclusive and tolerant society. This is obviously very basic and everybody knows this, and this shouldn't even be an argument, but unfortunately the adults who are trying to ban books simply do not care. As we've seen, the only worldview that they want around not just their children but other children as well are the worldviews that they align themselves with. We need the Poet-X and books like it because it is a chance for kids to be seen and see others in a way that they otherwise would not. Literature shapes young minds. It fosters empathy. It creates understanding, and it also creates a sense of identity for those of you who find yourself in this book. I mean, I'm 30 and I'm still finding myself represented in books, and seeing yourself mirrored in fiction is such an empowering thing. We need literature in order to empower marginalized groups, promote cultural competence. Educators, parents, authors, we all have to recognize as adults the profound impact of literature on the next generation and actively work towards creating a literary landscape that reflects the richness and diversity of the world that we inhabit. But it's important also that you, the next generation, understands this as well. I have to now open a granola bar for my child. You can only be on camera if you wear your mask. This is my child.
Why can't I show my face?
Because it's the internet and we are practicing internet safety, just like all of you at home should be practicing internet safety. That is why you can't show your face. I had a hard time getting this information about the Poet-X. What information I did get you, it took me hours to find and I still haven't found all of it. I had to comb even through like local newspapers. So I will show you a local newspaper report that I found. It says here, this is from a local newspaper and this is a person in the local community speaking up about what's going on with the banning or the attempted banning of the Poet-X in Texas, in Fredericksburg. It says, among the books under review for the Fredericksburg High School Library's Elizabeth Acevedo's The Poet-X, a book I reviewed 2 years ago for a Tweet Speak Poetry. I don't know what that is. The entire novel by this Dominican-American author is written in poems. The mother in the story, Alta Garcia, and her daughter, Xiomara, have conflicts over faith and culture. They turn to their priest, Father Sean, who acts as intermediary to help them understand the differences and rediscover their love for one another. The story doesn't end with easy answers. Xiomara neither becomes a nun as her mother wishes, nor does she swear off church forever. She's captivated by the poetry of the Bible, and that appreciation fuels her own growing love for poetry. The story is set in a contemporary high school, and some of its language and subject matter is best suited for older teens. But at its heart, it's a story of reconciliation that is all too rare and oh so necessary. I think that this is really important because it shows that when you listen to book banners about what a book is about and why they don't want it around, you get a very different picture than you get from people who have actually read the book and value understanding things like literary theme and authorial intent. Another thing I want to point out is this is one of the few ways that we can find out about things because a lot of this is hidden. A lot of this book banning is hidden. They don't want you to know about it and they certainly don't want you to speak up about it. The Poet-X, as far as I know, has not been banned or challenged in my county yet, but books are challenged regularly here, typically by one woman, Julie Gebhardt. Hey!
These books are not being banned. That word has become a weapon to marginalize the voices of parents. Nazi book banning and the like has essentially been used to eliminate books from circulation. We're not doing that. We're asking you to keep them out of the reach of our children.
And I want to show you the most recent meeting we were at together, she and I. This person does have kids, but I think that she pulled them from the school district, whereas the kid that you just saw and my older kid are both still in the school district. But book banners do not ever stay in their lane. This person drives from school to school in the county, challenging different books at schools where her kids do not attend. This Book is Gay is another book that was challenged in my county, and subsequently there was a county school board meeting regarding this in March where they decided to remove it from all of the middle schools in the county. So because one parent was uncomfortable, they made it so that other parents, as a collective in the county, cannot choose whether or not that's a resource fit for their kid on an individual level. Instead of just opting themselves out, those who are uncomfortable opting out, they opted all middle school parents out of their ability to choose. But that was not enough. Julie recently drove from her place in Lithia to Armwood High School, which is 40 minutes away from her and 25 minutes away from me, where she does not have children in attendance, and neither do I, to challenge This Book is Gay, again, at the high school level, to get it banned from the high schools as well, because the middle schools was not enough for her. Here's what that meeting looked like, and I want to show you this because I did go. Julie and I were the only parents there other than Julie's husband, and then later her friends show up.
This is not about removing LGBTQ gay books. It's about removing obscenity from our public school libraries.
But there were no Armwood High School parents in attendance. I am a Hillsborough County Public Schools parent. She might be. I doubt her friend who has a haircut from 1985 is. There were no parents there. You know who there were, though? The students. So this woman with the crispy blonde hair you see, and the man next to that crispy blonde hair, that is Julie Gebhardt and her husband at the meeting. No one is on their side. On the other side of the auditorium, those are the actual students of Armwood High who came after school because this was important to them. Some random lady with a bad dye job drove 40 minutes to try to parent them without the consent of their parents. And the kids had the guts to show up because that is their school. Now, whether or not the kids, let's say the kids were there, but some of them didn't want the book. I don't know, but let's say they didn't want the book, right? I don't think any kids were there saying they didn't want the book, but let's say they were. That's still their right. They're allowed to say if they don't want the book. They're not allowed to speak for all the students, but they are absolutely allowed to speak for themselves because that's their school. The people between me and Julie and those kids that have an actual say in what should exist at that school are those kids. It's their education that's being affected, and neither of us are their parents. The actual students of Armwood High School stayed after school for this meeting because this was important to them. Some random lady who does not even know their name but wants to parent them without the consent of them or their parents tried to parent them, and they had the guts to show up. I was so proud of them because that is their school, that is their community, not hers, not even mine. They had all the business to be there to speak for themselves when she had no business being there in the first place. I only went to make her uncomfortable. It's not my kid's school, so I don't have a say. But those kids, I told them after, I'm so proud of you guys for being there. Some weird lady, and I probably had lipstick all over my teeth. I was so proud of them for saying this is our school and we have a say in what goes on here. That's amazing. The board in the video that you can see, not the board, the committee decided to keep the book, and the students all seemed happy about it, so assumedly they would like This Book is Gay to stay on shelves. They had a really good conversation about it, but I don't think Julie was very happy about the outcome because she was trying to get it removed. But when This Book is Gay was banned at our meeting in March from all the middle schools, not a single student stood up and said that they did not want it at the high school that we were talking about. It was challenged at one particular middle or high school, and then the board elected to ban it from all of the middle schools. Not a single one of those students who stood up said that they did not want it, either for themselves or their peers.
And I'm a senior from Lato High School. Representation matters. As a little kid, I always thought liking other girls was unusual. It was imprinted into my mind that it wasn't socially acceptable to like the same gender. Movies showed men and women in relationships, but never anything else. I just needed someone to tell me that it was okay to like whomever I needed. I wanted to share my story, not for pity, but to spread awareness of the problems behind being in the LGBTQ community that go unproved on a day-to-day basis. If I had this book in middle school, it would have made it easier to discover my true self. Someone who isn't afraid to love whom they love. This book gives awareness to a topic that is barely represented. At the end of the book, it states many resources kids can go to if they ever need help or someone to relate to, just like I did. Resources I could have used in middle school but did not have access to. The school is not forcing anyone to read it. It's in a library waiting to get checked out by someone who does need it. Kids should be able to have their questions answered. Everything in this book can be found on the internet, so what is the difference? Some people don't have parents, friends, or anyone to go to. Thank you.
I'm a freshman at Lato High School. I am here to prevent the removing of books of becoming a trend. I find it completely unnecessary to request any book to be removed. I may not agree with the content, but others might, and how is it my decision to choose what is to be read and what is not? How is it my decision to choose what someone else's child consumes? It takes a village to raise a child. The village helps to raise a child, but it is the parent or parents' responsibility to set the perimeters of how the child is to be raised. It is not up to another what one does with one's child. My mother decides what she wants or does not want me to consume in the media. That is her job as a parent, to guide and parent me. However, what is not her job is to make decisions for other people's children concerning beliefs and other ideologies. In the words of Epictetus, keep your attention focused entirely on what is truly your own concern, and be clear that what belongs to others is their business.
Thank you.
Senior at Lato High School. Ever since I could walk, I picked up books that piqued my interest. Some of my fondest memories are of reading nonfiction books about historical events. My parents would love to surprise me on my birthday with a new story that I could dig my fingers into. I remember forming deeper connections with people after reading about different cultures. It allowed me to learn about different people's lifestyle. This nonfiction book can be used as a guide for students who are questioning their sexuality. It can also be used as an information source for others who are sure of who they are, but they want a deeper understanding of other people's desires. Some people believe that this book should be removed because it is not deemed age appropriate, but according to the University of Washington, kids begin to explore their sexual feelings by age 10. It states that middle school kids start to develop an interest in romantic relationships. A lot of young adults do not have a worthy source of information, so they rely on the information they find on the internet, and this can often be misleading. This book is not being forced onto any particular student. It is in the media center for those who need it or choose to read it. It can be used as an adequate guide in exploring who they are as individuals. It is safer for a kid to read a reliable source that has been approved and purchased by a media specialist rather than to be misinformed by a non-credible source. One could argue that it would be hypocritical to remove this book from the school library because there are books that inform kids of heterosexual relationships. We need nonfiction books that are inclusive, books that discuss same-sex relationships, and teaches kids that need nonfiction books that are inclusive. The kids that select this book have demonstrated that they have doubts about their sexual feelings and they want to learn more about who they are. I have always found books as a place of comfort where I can be my authentic self. So why should we take this away from other kids?
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Javier Rosario and I'm a cisgendered heterosexual senior at Lato High School. When I first heard about this book and the controversy surrounding it, I questioned the function of a school. Many will agree with me when I say that a school's job is to educate kids and provide them with materials to be successful and learn whatever they need to know about the world. This means that a school's job is to teach and prepare kids for the next step in life. And in middle school, this is a topic that should be taught to prepare kids for life. If 6th graders are old enough to learn about heterosexual sex and heterosexual lifestyles, then they should be old enough to learn about homosexual sex and homosexual lifestyles. And it is your job to give them access to that knowledge. If a parent feels that their child should not read this book, then that's completely valid. But it is up to them to regulate and police what their child consumes. Even if this book does get removed from peers, there are a million other ways to discover the same information. Some a lot more dangerous than others, but overall, a school cannot and should not be responsible for every person's parenting style. Besides, most kids will just laugh at how it says gay and then go tell their classmates so they can laugh together. They will probably never actually read the book or take it seriously, meaning that in middle school, 2 kinds of children are going to read this book. Children who are mature and looking to learn about the LGBTQ plus community, and kids who actually need to discover who they are. Because with all the homophobia middle schoolers deal with on a day-to-day basis, they might just need a book to discover themselves. People aren't going to change their gender or sexuality because of a book. It's not that good.
These are the voices that are left out of the conversation, and not just left out, but spoken over. Everything that makes some random lady 40 minutes away from you uncomfortable does not make the baseline for what is your education make. That sentence got away from me, but that's not how we make rules. Some random lady completely unaffected by your education should not be making the rules about it, and the rules should not be based on, well, it makes Sally Sue over there uncomfortable. That doesn't make any sense. Your school should be reflective of you and your parents and your administration, the affected voices, but the students should be centered, especially if you can speak for yourselves, especially so. The Poet X is a revolutionary book for so many teens. You might see yourself in Xiomara because she grew up Catholic, or because she struggles with her Catholicism, or because she's Dominican, or because her relationship with her mother is hard, or because she's a girl, or because she's a poet, or simply because she is 15. That matters, and this book was written by a person who knows that that matters. And if that representation, any of it, is important to you, or even if you just prefer novels in verse, then you are allowed to say that. You are entitled to your voice, and some 50-year-old man or woman who doesn't even know your name should not get to dictate what books you can access. So what can you do? You are well within your rights at any time to do many things, and you can do the reporting in your county. Book banners rely on word not getting out about how many and which books they're trying to remove access to. So speaking up really matters. You can write emails to your district member. You can speak to them publicly at meetings. It's good to speak to them publicly because that makes them feel like they have to be held accountable. Form groups with other students, like here in Hillsborough. I know there's Tampa Teens Against Censorship. I'll link their Instagram down below. Let each other know when challenges come up and show up to those meetings, carpool together. If your school already has something like a Gay Straight Alliance, that is a perfect group to get involved in, to work together in combating book banning, because these things typically overlap. Queer books get banned statistically more than non-queer books. Follow those who are fighting book banning, who are your age, such as the aforementioned Teens Against Censorship, but I know there's a girl here in Florida who lives in Brevard County named Samantha, who goes to her school board meetings with her mom and her sister, and she's a total badass. Ask your fellow students if there are anybody interested in being involved in that with you. Ask your school board also if you have the possibility of having a student liaison that can report to the board for issues like this that affect students. Student voices need to be centered, and repeat that until the adults start listening. Ask your parent or guardian to get involved with you, especially if you are going to meetings, because I can speak for experience and tell you that these groups, specifically Moms for Liberty, do not care about you and will verbally fight with you. I'll bring up Samantha again.
Hey, turn the camera off of me or I will get the police involved in this. Turn the cameras off, sweetheart. That's not right. Don't talk to me.
The Moms for Liberty group at her school board threatened to sic the cops on her. And at the Hernando County School Board, where I went to go support the parents there, I had to physically put myself between two 17-year-old girls and a group of grown men who were screaming at them. Meanwhile, Moms for Liberty was directly behind me. I'm talking 6 inches, and they watched the whole thing go down without even once saying anything to protect the students. And then the cops got on my case. So you really need to have an adult with you. If you're going to go to school board meetings, you should have a parent or guardian with you. Please attend meetings with an adult, with a trusted adult, and film everything just in case. Keep on top of these meetings and agenda items for your school board by checking in with your school district website. Ask your school's librarian if they've had any formal challenges submitted, and if so, ask when the meetings for the committee to look over those books are. Engage with banned books during Banned Books Week, which is every October. Find out if your school already has some books banned, and email your school board asking for their reinstatement and why you feel they should be a resource for you and your peers. Reach out to other teen-led organizations, either in your state or nationally. If you're going to be reaching out to groups run by adults, you should definitely, again, have your parent or guardian involved. I also, please remember to use internet safety. I highly, highly recommend you not going by your legal name online. Do not talk to strangers. Do not give anybody your legal name. Your voice matters, but so does your safety. So please always, always, always prioritize your safety. I don't know if the Poet X is the right book for you, but what I do know is if you have a conversation with your parent or guardian between the two of you, and you determine that the book is appropriate for you, you should have access through your school. If somebody tells you, well, it's available at the library or you can buy it, you remember that either you or some of your peers, the only chance that some of you are going to have to access those books is through your school, because that is a place that you're already going. You don't need further transportation, and you don't need money, and you don't need anything to set up a library card. You have the right to access books easily, even if adults are squeamish about them. That is not other adults' business. That is between you and your parent or guardian. You have the freaking right to read. Thank you so much for watching. If you have comments or questions, please leave them down below. Please, again, remember internet safety. Do not give out your name, age, or location. Or at least if you're going to give out your age, do not give your full name, and definitely don't tell people where you are going to school if you do not know them. Do not put that in your Instagram bio. Be safe on the internet from a mom. Listen to me and eat your vegetables. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you have questions, leave them down below. I appreciate you. Keep up the good work. Stay in school. Read a book. Okay, bye. Thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Bills patrons, and those are Alexander, Allie Magpie, Brittany Bobitney, Cami, Chris, Claire, Des Roberts, DJ Rocktopus, Ellie, Emperor's New Blues, Aaron, Eric, Harley, I'm Not Creepy, You're Creepy. Who changed their name on here to I'm Not Creepy, You're Creepy? Which one of you did that? Jack, Johnny, Jill, John E, Kaleno K, Casey McKenzie, KW, Caitlin M, Quinn, Lady Kittybug, Lex, Alice, Rain, Reese, SJ, Samar, Scarlett, Shiny, and SMK. Thank you all so much for being a friend. And I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Potato Starch Marxist patrons. Those are AM Angel, Amanda, Andy, Angelica, Anita, Artie the Ninth, Ashley, Ava, Ballad Ends. Whoa, man. I just got real dyslexic real fast. Okay. Ballads and Bookends. Okay, good. BB, Beck, Blythe, Bookish Brain Rot, Bree, Brienne, Caitlin, Cardinal Ginger, Carlin, Cassandra, Catherine, Kathy, Chris, CJ, Cole, Colleen, Corwin, Corey, Darren, Deborah, Dex, Diet Goth, Dorian, Dorothea, Ebby, Ember, Emerald, Dodge, Emily A, Emily L, Emma, Aaron, Ezra, Hannah C, Hannah T, Harpy Kuro, Haley G, Ilianaka, India Inks, JM Tennant, Jay is on Olympus, JT, Jen Michelle, Jenny G, Jess B, Jessa Sue, Jillian, Jojo Bookish, Just Pugsley, Kaylee, is it Kaylee? It's Kaylee, right? I think it's Kaylee. We're gonna go with Kaylee. Kaylee, Kat, Catherine, Katie, Katya, Kayala, Kendra, Kylie, Laughing Cat Dog, Laura, Lazarus Ray, Library of Scars, Lisa B, LP, Luciri, Luna Moth, Lustful Octopus, Martin, Madison, Marcella, Marquita, Malara, MK Books, Molly, James, Nat, Natalie, Never, Nicole G, Nicole R, Nyan Binary, Paige P, Penny Chilling, Peta B, Foxglove, Pixel Stars, Rachel B, Rat Sarah, Reba, Rebecca, Rivy, Robin, Rosie, Rowan, Secoria, Sadie, Samantha M, Sarah C, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Shamed, Shannon, Sheen Onion, Sheena K, Cheryl, Sean, Talia, Three Old Dogs, Tiana, Tina, Toast, Trashcan Teddy, Title Phoenix, Wildcat, and Writer A. Thank you all so much for being a friend.